I just gave myself the worst angle to work with, but it's fine. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Royal Scales, and today I have some cursed objects. I have a cursed object that I decided to make. So I'm sure you've seen these images online. There are these things that are tentacle body pillows, and they looked so comfy and so fantastic, and I wanted one, so I made one. And yeah, this is how I did it. So the entire process is pretty simple and mostly painless. The three materials I used for this were fleece, polycotton, and costume satin. Obviously you can use your own different materials if you so desire. Basically I just started out by making sure it was the proper length by laying down on it as you just saw, and then taking a Sharpie onto the fleece and tracing out the pattern of the tentacle. Obviously do not do this on the costume satin or on the polycotton because it will bleed and then it'll be all over your tentacle, and that's the last thing you want. One thing of course is going to be recommended is that you do iron out these materials. However, it's not necessarily needed because you are going to be stuffing your tentacle, so it's kind of gonna flatten itself out, if that makes any sense at all. And once you've got the shape you want, you're just gonna cut that dude out. Of course, bendy is helpful as always. I didn't use a pattern, so if you're going to do it the exact way that I'm doing it, be sure you don't cut on the line that you've drawn because you are going to want to leave some room for seam allowance. The polycotton did retain a lot of the wrinkles from being in the packaging, so just like a lot of life's problems, we're just going to iron them out and move along. After you've got it all ironed out, just place the fleece fabric pattern on top of the polycotton, a fabric pencil, not with the Sharpie this time, and then cut the same pattern out. Next, you're going to want to find something that is circular, about the size you want your little sucker dudes to be. This was probably the hardest step in my opinion, simply because I only had one hand to use to trace onto the satin, because the other one was holding my little C4 tub onto the fabric. I do recommend using chalk for this instead of a marker or a pencil, because a marker obviously will bleed and a pencil is just kind of hard to see what you're actually doing, so I feel like chalk would be the best way to mark satin. As you can see, I just did my best to mark out as good of a circle as I could, and then went back and darkened that circle. When you cut these out again, leave some room for the seam allowance. I cut out 10 of these circles so that I could have 5 little suction cup things. I wanted my suckers to be 3D, so I just made like a little donut thing. For the inner hole, I just traced a spool of thread because it seemed to be a good size ratio, and then I sewed everything together. Do not sew the middle together until you turn it inside out, because I did that like a dumb, and that's not gonna work. I found the best way to do it was to sew the two halves of your sucker together and leave a couple inches so that you can get the stuffing inside of it, and then cut the inside of the hole out later. Stuff these little guys to be as hard or as soft as you would like them to be, and then stitch it closed with a ladder stitch. Don't ask me to explain to you how to do that because I'm not good at explaining things. The best thing I can tell you is to look it up on YouTube, and you will find lots of very simple tutorials on how to do a ladder stitch, which is a very simple stitch anyway. Suckers were stuffed and stitched. I attached those to the polycotton with a pretty much similar ladder hand stitch thing. I don't know, I just stitched it to the polycotton. I don't really know how to explain the exact stitch. I don't know exactly what it's called. But I just went from the underside of the polycotton, stuck it through, and attached it to the inside of the little donut thing. There was no easy way to film this, but what I did was I basically just took my purple fleece and laid it over top of the suckers so that the suckers are in between the two purple fabrics, and I pinned them together so that the fabric wasn't going to move, and was very careful. And as I was sewing, I was double, triple, and quadruple checking to make sure that the suckers were not going to get caught up in the seams of the two purple fabrics. Once I had that all sewn together, I just flipped it right side out and stuffed it really well. I wanted it to be a little bit more firm, so I did stuff it pretty heavily, and then just close that up with the same ladder stitch that I used on the individual little donut sucker things. This really only took me a couple of hours to make, and admittedly, most of that time I was either making a dumb stitch or I was looking for scissors, because that's what most of my life entails. You can literally use whatever colors you want, whatever materials you want. They're super customizable, super easy to make, and I absolutely love this thing. Unfortunately, mine is currently in ICU because, just a little side note, you cannot be dragged across the floor with these because they will rip. Lovely natural lighting we've got going on here. It's great. But anyway, this is my boy. I made him. I love him. It is I don't know why it's a him now, but that's a thing apparently. So that's how I made my tentacle. It is one of my best friends. It also matches my scrunchie. I have so much purple. Wonder why that is. But anyway, words are hard. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you want to share this video, feel free to. I'm not opposed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, baby.